always smoke pure, nothing but good vibes up in here. We blaze the ganja, keep it fire, GRAMBO grows, burning desire. Learn about cultivation, step by step, you can. I've got the negativity, cannabis vibes on it. GRAMBO grows, vibes up here. Grow, vibes with unite.
Yo ho ho ho. Oh man. Shout out as always to Cannabis Vibe for that amazing theme song. Is one of the reasons that I actually started doing this. You guys started subscribing to my channel before I had even made videos, and then Cannabis Vibe made me a theme song, and I was like, well, I guess I have to make a show now. So this is the late night smoke. What's up, everybody? I see a bunch of Graham fam, DGC in the up in the chat. We got Hazy, Tinker Strain, Captain Obvious, Yo Joe. We got Dark Side. Oh, Potent Ponics is here. He's gonna be coming. I'm gonna send that link to you in 1 second. Potent Ponics, CB, Big Word, Sir Hunsalot, Jimmy. You gotta go to work, but we'll be here after you guys get off work. What do you guys gonna think about my new microphone? I purchased a brand new microphone. I was so taken aback at how crappy my audio was when I no way. Eugene Green Monroe is in the house. For you guys that don't join in on the Jug Dealers Fund, Eugene is amazing freaking guy. One of the great growers that you're gonna find, one of the most athletic specimens you're gonna find, and all around gorgeous man. Shout out to you. Love seeing. I wanted you got to get you in here. If you're around, Eugene, I'll send you the link, man. Come hang out. He's a former NFL first round pick, played with the Ravens and at least one or two other teams. I'm not a football guy, I'm a hockey guy, so forgive me on that, Eugene. But today we got Potent Ponic Steve lined up. I was so excited that he was available. Yeah, Eugene. All right, bro. I'll send you a link here in a little bit on Instagram. Fuck yeah. Yeah, you guys are in for a treat. This was awesome. So yeah, before we get going, hang out. What are you guys smoking on in the chat? I always like to know what you guys are smoking on. See if you're smoking something better than me, and I gotta fight you. I will fight you if you smoke danker than me. Do you understand? Ooh, can't get sweating. Here in Grambo Studio B over here, freaking I get a little bit heated, especially got my new grow hat on. So shout out to all those Graham fans that have gone over there to GRAMBO.shop and bought some of the Grambo Grow shirts and the grow hats. I think the grow hats are dope. I think you don't have to be a fan of mine to enjoy the grow hat. And what I like about it is that it's like a double entendre. It's like grow the weed and then like grow as a person, right? Grow. We're all about growing up here. As Cannabis 5 said, it's all about positive vibes up in here. Grambo grows. Oh, Sir Hansalot, you just popped some Jinx beans. Shout out. I just popped some Three's Genetics. Those of you that watch the Dude Grow Show, which I imagine is most of the people in here, you guys know that we had Jeremy. Or Moon, no, I guess you don't. So Jeremy from Three's Genetics is on, and he was our second ever members only content. So if you guys are members over at the Dude Grow Show, is a great reason to become a member because we're dropping exclusive content. There's 2 episodes you can't get. We got Jaren from New Millennium Jug Dealer fame, and we got the Brett from Heart and Soil, and Banner was on. Me and Scott, we dropped an amazing episode. It was pretty sick, and so that's a members only content. And then we just dropped Jeremy from Three's Genetics, and he gave me some Laser Cat. So here in Denver, we have this awesome rosin company. It's called Laser Cat, and Laser Cat is one of the best hash companies ever. They make the best ganja. I love their dabs. It's so freaking good. So Jeremy ends up linking up with those guys out of Three's Genetics, and they have their, I believe it's the modified moose that they run over there, and it's a short flower. It's like a fast flowering strain, super dank. We were dabbing on it over the place, and he did a collab with Laser Cat. Now Laser Cat doesn't release their flower. You can't get cuts or seeds or anything from Laser Cat. They got theirs locked down. You know, they're a proprietary business. So he did a collab with them, and he's got their laser jet. And so Laser Cat times Three Genetics, they're calling it the Moose X, but I feel like Laser Cat and the Moose, it's got to be the Laser Moose. So even though it's the Moose X, Jeremy, if this gets back to you, it's officially called the Moose X, but Grambo's recoining it. Come on, baby, it's the Laser Moose. Laser Moose, come on, all about it. Oh, you did the 9 pound hammer. That was the, if you guys recall, my first ever video was the top 5 strains for sleep, and 9 pound hammer was the number one on there. Ant in the house. What up, man? Anthony, hardcore, Gram Fam, DGC, Juggernaut. I include everything up in here. So, yeah, it's been a crazy week. I always like to start the podcast just to talk about myself, let you guys populate before we bring in the guest. Today's guest, Potent Ponics Steve, and Eugene Green Monroe, former NFL superstar and current amazing, amazing grower, is in the house. And which is amazing because if you guys listen to the happy hour on Friday, after Dude had left, I discussed a little bit about we were talking about strains that we're looking forward to, that everyone's hyping up here in 2024, and the strain that I chimed in and said that everybody should look out for was these catfish crosses. And I mentioned that the Big Daddy catfish cross was being revegged currently, and the man who is revegging that is Eugene Green Monroe. So I would love to ask him all about that. Thank you guys for encouraging everybody to smash that like button. And one of the things that you guys can do to really help all of the cannabis content, thank you, Young Turk. That means endless amounts to me. You can't. I only do this for you. I put my kid to bed a little bit ago, and then I feel lonely on Sunday nights. I hang out with her all night. I have a great like daddy daughter day. Yo, we got James Hale in, and so we have a nice day, and then when I put her to bed, I kinda have this, like, little hole where it's just like, "Oh, I'm feeling lonely now," and I turn off all the lights and, she's sleeping, so I'm quiet, and so I was like, "Wonder if I could stream on Sundays instead of just hanging out all by myself." Shout out to everyone over here on Instagram. I see you guys down there. Come over, hang out with us over in YouTube. Shout out, we got Jess and Jackass, that's all who I could see right now. But come over to YouTube. We're smoking over here, waiting for you guys. Right now, I've got some Picasso going down from Green Dot Labs here in Colorado. Me and Rasta Jeff both share the love of the Green Dot. And if any of you guys know Green Dot Dave, I'm going to put this out into the universe. And then I'm going to tell a story about putting shit out into the universe. I'll put it out in the universe. If anyone knows Green Dot Dave, my dream as a stand up comedian, stoner, and content producer has always been to be sponsored by a hash company and to like sport their gear, smoke their stuff, spread the word of their message. And I've always wanted to be sponsored, get free stuff, smoke exclusively on them. But who would you smoke exclusively from? It'd be really, really hard. There's one company who I think I could exclusively smoke their live resin, and that's Green Dot. And funnily enough, I'm smoking their rosin today. I'm gonna put that out in the universe because you never know. I'd love to be sponsored by Green Dot. That'd be a dream. Here's the reason I said I have a story about putting stuff out in the universe, and I'm gonna send out a link over to Potent Ponic Steve, and we're gonna get him in here. Crazy story, So I've always been a Chem 4 nut, big Chem 4 guy. Love the chems. Chems 4 specifically is my jam. It's just got this like very nuanced, light chemical toilet, sort of like cologne. It's all in the back of your throat. It's very, very, very nice. And so out on Dude Grow Show, I just put out into the universe, just like I did. Hey, if anybody knows, I'm sure someone knows how to get Chem 4. Does anyone out in the DGC got Chem 4? I would love to get that Chem 4. So that was Monday, the next goddamn day. on Tuesday. The next goddamn day. We filmed Jug Dealers on Tuesday, as you guys know. Jug Dealers comes out on Tuesday. The next goddamn day, we had Gabe surprised me. He's like, "Hey man, we've got P Bud coming in." I go, "P Bud, why do I know that name?" And he's like, "Well, if you know Chem, you probably have heard the story about P Bud and like the dog Bud became P Bud. And there's all this thing, the Chem and the P Bud and everything is mixing all together." So it turns out the day after I put out into the universe, "Hey, has anyone got the Chem 4?" The next day, I was sitting with the guy who popped the beans of the Chem 4. And I'm like, "Yo, like, can I get a cut?" Like, he's down in Florida. I was like, "Who do I know that can get a cut?" And both him and Gabe were like, "Oh, we can make that happen. We'll make sure to get you." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yesterday, I put out into the universe. Like, does anybody know where I can get a beat up, crappy, probably fraudulent a cut of the Chem 4?" The next day, son of a bitch, I'm hanging out with P Bud and he's just like, "Oh, we can get you literally the keeper of the genetics." Yeah. Cool moment for me. And yeah, so that is story time for today. What are you smoking? What do you got over there, Tinker Train? Yeah, I haven't messed with Sunshine all that much, but definitely 710 Labs. One of my favorite YouTube names out there, Heisenterp. What up, Heisenterp? My buddy's a big mushroom grower. He goes by Heisen Shroom. Shrooms are like it's the new ganja is all the weed. Hell yeah. So yeah, see, see, Joseph knows the story of the 13 seeds. It's an epic, epic tale. There was 13 seeds, and those became the Chem 91. Ooh, I'm overheating. Oh, forgive me. Those of you that know the story exactly, remind me in the chat. All right, guys. So he just popped in. Yeah, we'll see what Steve knows about it. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual hands together. Unbox Steve's in the house. Yo, do we got audio on you? How's your audio? Do I have?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry,
There we
muted.
all good. Fuck yeah. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Sorry, I got wrapped up. I go from hanging out with my kid all day and like just being Johnny sober, and then I just chain smoke dabs as soon as like she's all safe and tucked in. I have a little babysitter action that mine's out in the middle area. So I literally am like in the middle of storytelling. It's like, oh shit, I literally had the link to you pasted and then forgot to click send. I like it's like, where is Steve? He's like, hasn't been here. I look over and it's like, oh, I didn't click send. I'm that stoner.
What's up?
Hell yeah. So what you smoking on?
I have a little bit of local flower here from a friend of mine. I'm not quite sure what it is, and then a little bit of hash on top.
Nice. I find that that's like the peak of like stoner, like is where like you care so much about weed that you always know what everything is, but eventually it gets to the point where like, I don't know what this is. Like I just have blank market, like there's no markings on this. I know it comes from Hot Rod. God help me if I know what it is.
Nice. Yeah,
Oh
and
yes. Yeah. And then I'll just throw out the chat if you guys got any questions for Steve, just start putting them out now and we'll go through and I'll post them up.
cool. Haven't seen you
Yeah.
since the other show. That was fun the other day on with Chad.
Oh yes, for those of you that probably didn't see it, I don't know how many people saw it. Steve and I share the love of marionetting ourselves on stage, puppeting, dancing monkey, stand-up comedian style. So he and I both went on, and I didn't know before that you dabbled in the dark arts. It was fun. How much do you actually like perform?
I used to do it a lot more when I was in Denver, but since traveling a lot, I haven't had a chance to. And then there was basically like comedy places in Thailand, so there is one about an hour or so from me where I live now, but I haven't quite gotten up there yet.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've been so I went on a date like a few days ago and it didn't go, just crappy, fizzled out, no chemistry. And then like that was such like crappy. I didn't, I was already kicked in the pants. There was an open mic right next door at the Irish Rover. And so literally I just like walk out, went to my car, took a dab, walked back, signed up. I think I was 59th out of 61. Denver.
Yeah, there's a really good
Yeah.
scene there on the Front Range for sure. There's a lot of
I
places
mean,
that do open
Colorado,
mics.
Denver's one of the top cities in American comedy, and that's literally thanks to just the Comedy Works. Shout out to Wendy Curtis, who owns the Comedy Works. She runs it like minor league baseball. So you start out, you call in a hotline every week, and you put your name on a list, and then as the weeks go on, you get up, and so you get like a number attached to your name, and you rise up the ranks. Like right now, I'm a C. A lot of my friends have moved up since becoming Bs, and like then once you become an A or an unpaid regular, so he runs it like minor league baseball. It's a fascinating little system here. But we're not talking about stand up comedy. We're talking about ganja. I can already see like literally like 10 people have left since we were talking about stand up. That's the kind of respect we get, Steve.
Right? People have no idea.
I love it. If people only knew. But one thing that goes hand in hand, funnily enough, stand up comedy and weed. I was shocked at like how much like comedians, like they're all alcoholics, but they all, maybe it's just a Denver thing, but damn, like as a grower, everyone knew that Grambo just had like nug, I didn't worry about it. If someone needed a bowl, I always had it for them. And so yeah, everyone hits me up for weed constantly.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun scene. I used to be a fun way to make new friends back in the day.
Yes, all sorts of nice friends. God bless new friends is what I say. So yeah, no, I've been slowly transitioning into doing oh, Anthony asked if I ever checked out Dean Del Rey. Yeah, I don't, just so for everyone, don't tell me to check out comedians. I pretty much know every single famous comedian out there. Dean Del Rey, yes, I've seen him perform several times. Awesome freaking comedian. Anyone that comes out of the Comedy Store is just forget about it. They're legit. So, but yeah, what's up with you over out in the West Coast now? You came back from Thailand. Like, what's your growth situation like?
At the moment, I just have a smaller grow where I'm at here in Tennessee, so we don't have quite some of the liberties that y'all have in other parts of the country currently, but we do have a hemp license and it allows us to do some THCA hemp and other hemp. So,
Wow.
we do it that way, which is nice. But
Can you
at the
touch
moment,
on
go ahead.
Well, I was curious about the THC hemp. That's like one of the more confusing topics in like cannabis news right now is everything going on with THCA. What's THC hemp? Expand.
Oh, I mean, it's total bullshit. I mean, it's just a way to like legally grow regular weed. But hey, it is what it is, right? It's what the work law allows for, and a lot of the bigger companies have all switched to THCA hemp, if you haven't noticed, for
I
the
have.
MSOs and stuff. So it's just a way to like get around bullshit rules that should have changed a long time ago. And there's a lot of states too that people don't talk about it, that have trigger laws, right? So a lot of states say that as soon as the federal government changes, that then they'll allow, like legalized regulated production in their states too, which will hopefully open up, at least some of the remaining states there. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
it's
And I think that,
crazy how there's like the map is like this like green blob that's moving in. There's just that little Bible belt that just refuses to acquiesce.
yeah, and I have a couple other projects. I have a bigger project going on in Oklahoma I'm working with, and a project in Wisconsin and a couple of other places. So we'll be bouncing around a little bit here in the next couple of months. But yeah, it's always fun to do that. I'm actually working on just locally for a neighbor, working on a pretty cool trout system as well as two old trout troughs for trout breeding, and we're hooking all
Wow.
that up to a bunch of grow beds and growing a whole bunch of veggies for the local community here. So that's pretty dope too sometimes.
That's awesome. A friend of mine is I don't know how well you know Tennessee, but he's from a place called Hickman County, some rural backwater area. He went back home, and this is one of the guys I hold in esteem. He's stoner elite. He knows good weed, and he comes back from Thanksgiving or Christmas or something. He's like, dude, dead straight. I smoked some of the best weed from this home grower out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't think that was possible. And I was like, dude, what do you think I do all day, every day? Like, my job is to help people, teach people how to grow the dank. So it's not surprising to me that, good old boys out in the country are growing some fire ganja.
Oh yeah, especially when I was doing a lot more projects in Oklahoma and when I was living there full time. Um, there was a McKernan County, and they have a McKernan County Gold, which is kind of like a really old school, really humid resistant, really giant plants that grow really well in southern Oklahoma. And I have quite a few of those seeds actually. I got from a pretty cool older gentleman from some buds that he just flowered or seeded out that year. I guess it was 2 or 3 years ago now. But yeah, there's a lot of different parts of the country. Same thing too. When I was up in Rabun County, Georgia, working on a project, there's a lot of little pockets of the country that are like, have their own little local strains down, same as the North, California and all that, that people don't really talk about publicly or aren't really known a lot in the scene, but are little kind of like communities where they've been growing, for a long time, kind of less harassed. And it's always kind of cool to like see those different parts of the country.
And for good reason, right? You don't want to mess around out there in prohibition land too hard. It's funny for me personally. I was legacy grower. I had 299 plant counts, back in the day. Like that's how we ran. Me and my ex were a front family for a big grow house, and I never told anybody, talked about it. Like it was omerta. We did not do nothing. And then as soon as that was over, I went from never speaking about it to being as loud. I mean, I'm pretty loud on the internet about growing. I defy there's not many louder than me. So I love the fact that places like Tennessee are, they're gearing up for we know what's going to happen. The dominoes are falling.
Yeah, I mean the feds are definitely going to change something here in the next month or two. I think that's pretty obvious with all the way the investment banking's going and all the other stuff seems to indicate that's what's up. So we'll see. They fucked everybody before, so
It almost seems like it's baked into the system sometimes. But so, what are you growing in right now? Like, if you just got what do you got? Like a little 2x4, as you say? Is that what you?
oh no, I just have a little outdoor patch. But we'll be growing some
Oh,
Thai stuff this year. And then I have a couple
sick.
of ones coming in from Mr. Green Gene Garden. He did some crosses with some of the Jamaican lines that I gave him, I guess 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm going to grow some of those this year too. So always stoked to
Nice,
to grow his gear. I've been working with him for a long time, probably 6 or
nice.
7 years.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, but obviously his lore goes through the community.
Yeah, his cherry bomb
Yeah,
has been around a long time.
nice. So you ever grow indoor much? You planning on growing indoor? You seem like you're going for those big plots nowadays, eh?
Yeah, I mean, if I had like a little breeding project or just wanted to grow something on the side, I would. But like I have access to multiple grows just doing consulting, so it's kind of like if I want to grow a bunch of something, I can just grow a bunch of something at one of the places I'm working with. So it's not a huge deal. I'm not.
Right.
When I come home, I don't want to take care of a bunch of plants, and if I do, I want to take care of like nepenthes or some carnivorous plants, not what I do at work all day. As much as I enjoy weed, it's
Right.
nice to have a break a little bit.
No, 100%. As much as like, because that's like with my Instagram, I'm sure you're the exact same way. People just send you their grows, plants, and dude, it's like, dude, it all starts to run together after a while. It's like I can't keep strains and plants and nugs and seeds. Like, do you see those seeds? Like, I don't know. I think so. It gives me sympathy for you guys that have been, you've been in like you're coming up on almost 10 years, right? 7, 8 years probably. Like
The podcast
in the
is
con
8 years.
yeah,
Podcast is 8 years this year, and then the
nice.
I've been in the industry, legal industry now for 12 years. So
Well, and I just meant in the production world of the spreading the word on the out in the because yeah, doing the
Oh,
content production it takes a lot. So 8 years, that's not to be sneezed at. That's a hell of an achievement.
yeah, we started, I don't know, 6 or 8 months after Dude Grows did, way back in the day. It was like them, me, and Ross the Jeff, I think, were like the three podcasts way back in the day that I can remember. And there was Growers Roundtable, which got their YouTube channel shut down, which was a really good source of knowledge too back in the
Yeah, is
day.
that what happened to him? I was the biggest fan of the round table, and then it just disappeared one day. That was before I was YouTubing, so I didn't quite even understand. Like, I guess I was just like, oh,
Yeah,
I guess they quit.
they got hit in one of the first rounds when YouTube was like cracking down on weed content, and for a while it looked like they were going to try to get rid of it altogether, and then they eased off. But I mean, I think I'm one of the only people that didn't lose their YouTube channel at one point or another. I mean, even Dude Grows did, and like most of the people over
Yeah,
the years have lost their original channel for one reason or
that was
another. So
my first month with Dude Grows is when it got deleted.
yeah,
So I
it's again,
covered. We got 90,000 subscribers. I'm like, all right, I can't wait to run this machine, and we've been deleted.
right.
And so they went 90,000 to zero. It was a bummer time.
Yeah, the
So
definitely for sure. I remember I was one of their first in-person guests way back on like episode 37 or 38 or something like that. It was in a like an 8x4 grow tent at one of those. I
yep,
forget what the shop was.
is
That was a
at
lot of
Way to
fun back in
Grow.
the day. Way to go.
Is
That's what it was.
the Fort Collins Way to Grow. Yeah, that was such an awesome time. Like the fact that they let those guys, that just speaks to Brett and Scott's charisma that hey, can we film our podcast inside your freaking store in a grow tent? But how dope. I just set up my own 5x5. I just got an AC Infinity 5x5. Shit, dude, I should really be podcasting from in there instead of like where I'm at right now in Grambo Studio B. As everyone on Instagram can see, it's just a mess of wires. I got like a little Instagram camera to try to tease the show, like so I'm live. They can't hear you, they can just hear me. It says, come to YouTube. It's the real show. So put in the comments if you're from Instagram. Did it work? I don't know. It worked on me one time. I saw a guy was live on Instagram and it said go to YouTube, and I went to YouTube. I was like, huh, it's a good move. Oh, Kitty. Who's Kitty?
Oh, this is my fiance's cat Zora. But
Oh,
she's chill.
Zora. Shout out. Since I've been dating, I've noticed that there is a distinct hard line between the personalities of cat women and dog women. And I am a hardcore. I thought when I was coming in the game, I liked dog women. No, no, they're crazy. I like cat women. Cat women, they're what's up. So
No,
shout out to all you cat women out there.
where it's really at is reptile women, man. We ask anyone who's ever worked in a pet shop, and
Yeah,
reptile women are the crazy freaks, like in the
that's
good kind of way.
hilarious. See, I'm scared of reptiles, so they would just dog me freaking. My little girl's 4 and she like loves snakes and lizards and all this shit, and I just have to like pray to God that no one buys her one. I'll lose all my dad cred. Well, Tangy Man speaks the truth, but it's a sliding scale. I fell in love with this doctor. She was like brilliant and understood mathematics, and she smoked as good a weed as me. She would just take these giant fucking dabs, and I fell in love. I've been searching for my brilliant stoner girl ever since. Mm.
Been working on I have a big master class I'm working on. It's like the 5 day person in class, and working with a farm that's in Oklahoma. Um, and they also work with Langston University and Oklahoma University. So I'll be teaching there in May. So that's been taking up some of my time updating a lot of the stuff for the vegetable class and all that. So that's been fun. And then
Wow.
working on a bunch of other cool design projects for this tribe in Oklahoma that's doing a really big vegetable production and like multi-purpose. So they'll have a extra large aquaculture room that's providing field crop fertilization for a huge amount of cattle fields. So it'll be
Hmm.
kind of like a pretty cool dual project. And then they're also, down the street there's a cannabis grow I'm working with too, but they're good people over there. working on a big project out there. So we're really looking forward to popping a bunch of Thai genetics in Oklahoma and seeing how
Wow.
they do here in the heat. And,
How do you suspect they'll do? That's curious.
so most of the time, Thai stuff does really good. Jamaican stuff does well, as long as it's not triggers fast enough. You can't have something that's going to take forever to finish. You can, depending on where you are in Oklahoma, your first frost date can be anywhere from like September 15th to like November 15th, depending on where you're at. So you got to make sure that
Jesus.
you're growing something that's going to finish in time.
Yeah, next year I'm in a crazy packed residential area of Denver right now, and I'm gonna get out to a little bit more of a breathable west side of Denver area. And definitely one of the things that I'm going to be tracking is like, can I throw some autos? Is there enough space in the backyard that I can just pop? I've always wanted to grow outdoors, and you know, guys like you've inspired me over the years. Like you hear so much about the sun grown stuff. It's like I would like to just experience. I have grown outdoors, but it was back in the ditchweed days as a kid. That don't count.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like if you're in the lower part of the country where you can grow bigger plants a little, with an extra few weeks, it's nice to grow some of those bigger, larger plants that might be slightly less dense, but much more humid tolerant. Not going to mold up on you the same kind of way that a lot of the newer genetics would, or some of the super indoor, ultra dense stuff that a lot of people are growing. Um, you know,
Mm.
can be a little bit more problematic. I remember when Oklahoma, when runts came out and everyone planted a whole bunch of runts and that shit just rotted because it's too humid there. A lot of people were
Really?
dealing with issues with the bud density and having outdoor problems with runts big time. Just as one example. But Durban poison does anything Durban crossed kicks ass in the south.
Nate C, hear me out. Neem seed beard oil. You ever tried that, Steve?
I have not. No,
Yeah,
I've
I
heard of
don't
it
think
though.
so, Nate. I don't know.
No, I've seen that in Thailand. They put neem in everything.
Interesting. Really? I remember the first time I ever used neem, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I tried to mix it with water. It was the biggest disaster. I'm spraying half neem, half water. I was such a freaking new. I remember that's why I have such like respect for brand new growers that can get confused. I'll answer some pretty stupid questions because oh my god, I remember when I was new, the pressure was on me to go from like growing like 3 plants aeroponically at a friend's house to like growing 180 top quality cannabis plants and cocoa that had to finish, perfectly every single time. And whew, I made some dumb mistakes in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. It can definitely be challenging until you've gotten a couple grows on your belt and kind of how to deal with some stuff. That's the fun part about you know doing consulting for vegetables and cannabis. Both you end up with a lot of different insects and different molds and just different shit you haven't seen before, so that you're like not afraid when you run into it in another grow later on. You're like, oh no, I've dealt with this before. I've dealt with something similar, and this is what works, and blah blah blah. So.
That's literally it. It is just that's what attracted me to grow it, or not so much attracted to me. The money attracted me, but what kept me in it, like loving it over the years and years, was the puzzle aspect of it. You change an input, you pretty quickly get a result. You change this little thing, you're dialing in light cycles. How do you? For me, the big experimentation was drying. Back in like the late '90s, early 2000s, or mid 2000s, even there was a lot of information on how to grow weed, and you could grow really good weed. It wasn't until like the teens and late 2000 teens that like everyone started talking about drying and curing as like a topic that got as much respect. That like none of my growing friends back in the day ever, they just would chop, dry it, 2 or 3 days, whatever. And we thought it was dank, but man, once I properly dried my first harvest, whoo, it sang.
Nice. Yeah, no, that was definitely something that took me in being it. My first grow I grew in Philly got ripped off, so the plants were like a week out, and someone came and stole them. So I was pretty pissed off back when I was
Oh
a teenager.
man.
But It wasn't until my second time growing that I actually managed to smoke the shit, which really pissed me off, but it is what it is.
That's interesting. You know what I always found was an interesting correlation between stand up and like high intensity growers is like almost every stand up has the story of like their first set went really good because like if it went horrible, you probably just evolutionarily you'd weed out people that, you know, so if you had your first set, you're more likely. I noticed a lot of people that are hardcore grow, they all had a good story as far as their first grow. So I think you're one of the first people that had like a real nightmarish first story. So I'm glad, glad you stuck in, man. Jeez, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's like, I don't know, you get ripped once in a while back in the day, so I wasn't growing it in a discreet enough spot, so that was my fault.
Right. Yeah, I definitely fucking I'm not guilty of ripping people's plants, but definitely if, you know, whether it was ditchweed or whatever, I would have, you know, so I'm not hating on people that did it, but shame on you. Just go find someone.
I will also say too, though, having where I first started growing weed was in the pet trade. There's a lot of pet stores that have grow rooms or had grow rooms, or the money was flowing through the pet store back in the day.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so
It's one of the
that was
things that in the last year, I'm going to be as vague as I possibly can with this next story. I haven't said this on Jug Dealers. I haven't said this on Dude Grows. Only on my own channel what I dabble in. So I've been getting let into a lot of like, you know, backroom conversations with a lot of high level individuals in this world. And one of the things that's shocked me the most is how much dispensaries have an A grow space and a B grow space that's illegal, and like they'll like cases will get like shipped to like places that's like, oh, this is like some like, you know, pet store or like a, you know, just something stupid, but it turns out it's actually a giant illegal grow that's owned by some of the biggest the ganja manufacturers in the world. So like literally like, you know, 500 lighters will have a 100 lighter. And then if a crop goes sideways over here, well, maybe this weed, maybe this runs came from here, maybe this runs came from here. We don't know, you know, how much shadiness is still going on. I like it. It reminds me, you know, I'm clean. So I just like to, you know, I like that people are out there keeping it raw.
yeah. No, I mean, I used to do aquarium maintenance, and we delivered more than just fish food. I'll put it that way.
That's so awesome. Yeah, so that I mean, it sounds like you go OG. I didn't know really your whole story as far as like even before. So it sounds like you go fishes before weed, probably, right? Sounds like you're OG aquariums.
Yeah, but those are one and the same. Like, so for instance, like a lot of pet stores will give you, if you're working there as a retail person, at least mom and pops, anyways, back in the day would give you, okay, if you sold $5,000 or $6,000, they would give you 5% of that as like a bonus, and then 5% of what you sold past that. So you're not gonna like, it's not really, it's hard to do that if you're just selling fish, right? But if you're selling like light kits, and
Right.
1,000 watt lights for your reef tank, and the ventilation for those lights for your reef tank so the water doesn't get hot. It's a place that people could go back in the day, back before legalization, and buy grow lights without having to worry about the cops following them home from the hydro store, right? Because
That's
the cops would sit in
hilarious.
front of the hydro store, but the cops ain't looking at the reef because they can see there's a display with one on a reef tank in the front of the shop, usually a big display tank that has 1,000 watt or 2,000 watt lights on it, so that they can like bullshit justify why they're selling all these fucking lights and fixtures and like, you know, concentrated grow nutrients for your planted aquarium and all that shit when they know damn well that it's for fucking weed. At least it used to be back in the day. So that was like how I used to make my extra bonuses and shit when I was working in the pet trade when I was a teenager. But,
I went on a
but
date with this oh no, keep
one of the
going.
places straight up had a grow room underneath of it. So, and that's where I first got into it. And then I met a gentleman who worked for the post office, and I'll leave his name blank because I don't know if he still works for the post office. But when I was working in the Army post office, I used to be a contractor in the Army post office a long time ago, believe it or not. And yeah, so I ended up meeting him through there, and he taught me like how to grow. That was the first time I ever started growing like hundreds of plants at a time. And then there was another facility that we had access to that was an agricultural grow that I was like in a greenhouse complex that was just in the middle and had really good air ventilation. And we were growing, you know, in a greenhouse style on the East Coast way back in the day. And then had a chance to go work out in Colorado in 2010 and went out there to grow weed with some friends, and then ended up working for a company in Boulder there for a bit. And then the floods happened. I don't know if you remember the. I don't know if you're out in Colorado for the floods that fucking destroyed everything up in Boulder area. But the floods could cut Longmont into like 3 islands, which was insane because it's
Wow.
6,000 feet up, you know, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
the
was like,
last thing I'd expect.
yeah, it would take you like 2.5 hours to get from Longmont to Boulder to give you an idea of like how bad the roads were
What year was
after
that?
this, after 2011, 2012, whenever that was.
Yeah,
And then
wow. I
started
got here just
working.
after.
Then started working the aquaponics source, doing the research and development on that, where we had a whole research lab, which was super cool. We had 3 separate systems that we could test side by side stuff in at the shop, and then we had a whole greenhouse that was 50 by 30 by 18. And we had that set up with like a bunch of different grow setups and like a bunch of different methods for planting and a bunch of like a couple smaller side systems to fuck with the chemistry so we could figure out how to dial it in. And it took us 4 or 5 rounds to get it dialed in. And after that, we kind of settled on using dual root zone with the soil layer. So having a shallow soil layer, so you can have your mycorrhizal fungi and all your soil bacteria and stuff to stimulate that plant's immune system to get those terpenes, right? So you can kind of double stack the terpene levels with the aquatic microbes and the terrestrial microbes, triggering those genes that, you know, activate the terpene production. So once we settled on that, we were growing banging tomatoes and peppers that were spicier than like anything that we had in any of our controls, and cannabis that was finally, you know, on par with all of our controls or better. So then after that, we put that together and started promoting that and educating people on that way back in, I think the first class was in 2013 and 2014 that we started teaching people
Damn.
about that and what we were doing. And then the first facility opened in 2013 or 14, around the same time. It was a couple months after we started teaching. I forget what the date was. First opened in Oak, Colorado there for a bit. So that was really cool to kind of see. And now there's huge facilities. There's all over. There's even one up in Canada doing salmon, like large scale salmon production as well now with their cannabis. So it's really cool. And set up a big one in Thailand last year and did a bunch of had a really giant one that we were working on in Zimbabwe before the virus broke out, and I had to decide if I wanted to ride it out over there or not because they were going to stop flights from Southern Africa. So I decided to come back and not stay there.
Yeah,
So that was fun. But
fuck. World traveler, man. Holy shit. I fucking all it's so funny being from born in Midwest United States. All my friends look at me like I'm like crazy. Like, you moved to Denver. What an adventurer. It's like, dude, I meet people every day. Like between you and Adam Dunn and folks like that, it's just like y'all have lived everywhere. It's intimidating.
it's fun.
You've
You
had to
kind of
find
just have to figure
the
out like
amount of
how to
times you
source your. The hardest part is like, okay, you have like I have like a template spreadsheet that's like, okay, here's my like bio controls I need, and here's the like fungal fungal controls or seed seed plugs or whatever, the different shit I need to like run a grow. And then I can like go through and find all that shit either at a local market or like online or whatever. But this way it like streamlines that whole process of like, hey, we have to figure out all our supplies now. Because that's like the hardest part of getting there, and that and just figuring out what your local bugs are and like trying to map that out as best you can.
I can't even
If anyone
imagine.
ever is growing in Thailand, check out there's a really awesome insect museum in Chiang Mai that has a whole section of all the different pest insects that plague the country, which is super cool.
Wow. Is there like a documentation of that somewhere?
Yeah, they have a whole. It's really cool. They have displays of the like taxidermied insects, so you can be like, "Here's all the ones that attack this crop. Here's the ones that attack this crop," and then you can like just see them, so you know what the fuck they look like.
Is it online somewhere? Can people go check that out?
Oh, I don't know. It might be. It's in Chiang
Oh,
Mai. It's a insect museum. It may or may not be
oh,
online. I'd have to check it out. I think I posted pictures
yeah.
from it on my Instagram.
Yeah, check out Steve's Instagram. Definitely, he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff, which you'd never think from a guy that's like, oh, I'm doing the, people might look at you like you're like an old, like timey, like, oh, I like the old timey stuff. Meanwhile, this motherfucker's making AI cannabis apps and all sorts of like. Steve might be one of the most futuristic back in the day sort of characters I've ever met. You're a unique character. What made you want to get into the AI space?
The AI thing was just kind of trying to. So I started originally the Open Nutrient Project to kind of basically make KNF and natural farming practices a lot better for nutrient production, right? Because when I went to Africa and Zimbabwe, um, farmers were spending like 80-90% of their income on fucking Syngenta. Syngenta was like the only supplier of nutrients in the entire fucking country, and I have pictures of it and everything at the hardware stores and stuff. But the government gives out seeds and all. You can get like an allotment of seeds. Thailand's like this too, where you can get an allotment of seeds and bacteria and microbes and pest control, like beneficial fungi
Really?
and stuff like that, like the very Bassiana kind of stuff from the government. And like depending on the size of your property, you can get, and then the people there, you can get so many packets for free, and they come in like little pre-made kind of like lunchbox kind of things with little baggies in them. Anyways, so I realized that like if they had tons and tons of land and lots of different types of plants there, right? So if you could just figure out the FPJs and the jajams and the like different liquid preparations, you could fertilize these whole farms using just like the brush that's there. They have the biomass and the nutrients already there. They just have to be converted, and then they wouldn't have to buy all this shit. So I was working with a couple of guys there in Harare on a couple of different projects to grow different types of things, and got it kind of dialed in. So they've been teaching that over there, and it's all translated into Shona, which is really cool. Shona is an interesting language. It's like pretty pronounceable, and if you look at the British when they took over Zimbabwe, um, for a while, they kicked them out. Um, they phonetically, it's all English letters, so like you can read it and like fumble it close enough because that's the way that they did the pronunciation for it, using English letters to try and make the phonetic sounds. So it's like one of the easier to learn African languages because you can like learn to read it pretty quickly because it uses the English alphabet for the
Wow.
so it's just like it was one of the easier but weirder languages I've ever, had to learn at least a little bit of. But the word for weed there is mbanji, which is a pretty cool word
Bungee.
to say. Yeah.
That is a fucking cool word.
But so
Uh,
anyways, so with that in mind, there was a
Mbunji.
guy there was a guy in Vietnam. His name is Quan Con Pham. He's on episode 251, I think, of my podcast. Um, Growing with Fishes. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's on all platforms and YouTube. And I'm working on getting all the episodes up on Rumble and a couple of other places now. I'm trying to get less on just YouTube so that because YouTube is just getting
Yeah.
ridiculous. Um,
One nice thing Rumble will integrate so you can, if you upload to YouTube, you can automatically, it siphons off. Like I have Dude Grows. So every time I upload to YouTube, it just automatically uploads to Rumble and at least cuts down one
nice.
of your uploads.
Yeah, it was broken for a while. Did they? Hopefully they fixed it recently. Because I thought it was doing
I
that to
did.
mine for a while, and it stopped working. But maybe it's
I'm a
just working.
YouTube man. Even Spotify, like we do Spotify. Fuck, I can't figure out Spotify. Nuggy asks how my garden's looking. For everyone that's been curious about mine, the emergency, I got a cuts of emergency from JR Token, and oh my god, they are so freaking frosty that I have fan leaves that like the whole petiole and the entire fan leaves is covered in trikes. It's ridiculous. So I'm having Hot Rod's head stash wash it's done 420 week, if you can believe that. I'm going to trim on like the 16th, and then it'll be all washed and pressed by 420. So shout out to Hot Rod. Thanks, brother. I'm excited. This is going to be my first harvest that I've ever washed the whole thing. I've never been so ballsy.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, we have a nice stainless steel set here for that. Pretty large, like 30 gallon. something like that, 20, 30 gallons. They're nice.
What is concentrate culture like in all those other places like Thailand and stuff? Have they caught up to what we're doing in the West, or is it lagging behind with the classical hashes?
So Thailand, at least in the shops, above counter, like hash is illegal. Um, so you can't like walk around and talk about it, or like, you got to be at least a little bit mindful of it because it's considered like a refined drug still over there.
Mm,
But they do
yeah.
have like a rosin scene, and they do have like you can get hash. You can get charas too once in a while. Like 2 or 3 times I was able to get a hold of some like proper charas, which is really nice. It's one of my favorite things to smoke. Or if you're in
Oh,
Jamaica, they call it gum. It's like
gum, really?
a hand
Oh,
live
fascinating.
hash. Yeah.
Shawnee Mac asked if I'm going to enter in the cup. I'm not, because as of right now, there's no concentrate categories. So I will have no flour to enter. Although this emergency, man, it's so good that I probably would, although it's not going to yield very much. It's a hot rod said it's like a 3 or 4% squisher or washer, rather. Yeah. Are you going
So
to be in for the cup, Steve?
yeah, I'm gonna try and make it. I gotta double check 1 or 2 things when I'm planning on being there. So
Yeah, I had heard we were talking about like what to do for the VIP night. Do we have stand up? Do we have music? And I don't think they trust me over there yet. 'Cause, like literally some of my friends, like you know who like Stroop is and Sam Talent and all these guys. Like some of my friends are the biggest comedians in the world. Like literally, have you ever seen Zach Moss in Denver? Did you ever come across him when you were here?
um, well, the name rings a bell, but I don't remember it in particular.
This absolute just crusher down at Comedy Works. He's got long, beautiful hair. He looks like Jesus, big old beard, just talks about smoking weed. He's so fucking funny. And I was gonna get him to headline for the cup, and I don't know. They don't I don't. It's funny. Scott always goes to clubs and he tries to test them. Like he'll ask the comedians in Fort Collins, like, "Do you know who Josh Grambo is?" And so far, every single one has known me, and it feels good that like he'll be like, "Hey, I asked this guy Wes," and I go, "Wes Williams, that's one of my closest friends. Tell him what's up." I saw this girl Georgia. It's like Georgia Comstock. Oh, that's Nick Dean's girlfriend. I love them. Like it's so yeah. No stand up at the DGC Cup. I don't think anyway. But TM, message them and let them know. You know, we can
Yeah,
knock off 5 minutes.
I guess they have to worry about people getting offended too with all that shit. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be
Well, see,
friendly.
for me, I've been doing it long enough that I have my like set, and then I have my clean set. You know, so if I needed to do 10 minutes clean, I have. And clean is a relative word. Pretty much tiring, like
Yeah, I don't
I'm
have
the
a
guy
family friendly set for sure.
I have a bit where I say the word pussy like 14 times in 3 minutes. You know, I don't know. Let's talk about, I gotta say, how do you talk about eating pussy without saying pussy? Like one of people's favorite jokes is if you don't eat a woman's pussy, you're an asshole. And if you eat a woman's asshole, you're a pussy.
Yeah,
So
I
I don't,
remember the first time I invited like my coworkers and stuff from where I was working at in Colorado there. One of my coworkers was like super evangelical and all that, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just like make sure my set's gonna like not totally piss off the guy I have to work with every day, right? So I like removed a couple jokes that I was gonna say. So the
yeah.
guy before me's closer was about like Jesus getting fucked to death by a horse, and it was like, well, all the hard work I did just went out the window. It was really funny.
I had a set in Fort Collins like way back in the day, and I was nervous that I was too blue, as they say. And then yeah, the host of the show goes up and has some like, you know, fornicating corpses joke, and I was like, I'll be fine. So gross. Ah, comedians. You know, one of my favorite stories about comedy and weed is I was smoking a bowl outside of an open mic, and it tasted really good. It tasted like some like old school tangy. And I was like, oh, I like that. That's like some vintage genetics. Like, where'd you get that? And as a comic, I'm very like, competitive and jealous. And so for sure, I think I'm the best guitar player comedian in Denver. I can play the guitar the best, and I'm definitely the best grower comedian for sure. There's no way. I smoked this. He goes, yeah, a comedian in Boulder grew it. And I was like, what? So cut to like 6 months later, I'm in Boulder doing a show and we're smoking weed outside. And I go, what do you motherfuckers grew this? Who was it? And this guy's like, it was me. And I was like, I know who you are. Your name's Matt, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I've heard of you through growing. And he was kind of hurt that I didn't know who he was as a stand-up, but I did know who he was as a grower.
That's funny.
So make sure you grow the dank. It can be your calling card. I knew who he was. Hey, what up, man? I know you. Good weed.
Yeah, that's a good. At least you're known for something dank, right? Either way.
As Jaron likes to say, I like his way he always puts it. He's like, my weed is my business card, so I make
Yeah.
sure that it sings.
So the guy I was talking about from Vietnam, he was doing a bunch of experiments with doing plant ferments, using liquid IMO and fermenting plant material, and then testing the parts per million of those. So he started mapping that out, and then there's another gentleman named Nigel Palmer who also maps out the parts per million for um, Korean natural farming inputs, slightly customized. But you can go to his website and he has a bunch of those posts posted publicly. So we started mapping out those, and then combining them, using training an AI on that, along with thousands and thousands of plants with their known nutrient values, so that it kind of simplifies it. So you don't have to like sift through all the plant species based on the ones that are near you. You can just ask the damn thing, what you need help with, and it'll give you a custom nutrient formulation based on plants in your local area, and you can
Yeah,
pick invasive or
and it
regular. And
it works. I live in a weird place where I found like a male black widow, and I was like, oh shit, like fucking, I gotta keep my eye out for weird bugs. And so then I saw a weird bug one time, and I didn't know what the hell it was. I couldn't figure it out. So I downloaded some brand new bug AI identification app. Dude, sure shit. It fucking found exactly what it was. And it was just some benign nothing bug I didn't need to worry about. So I was like, man, like it works very well with bugs. There's no reason that it can't work on everything cannabis. It knows every single vein, every single little cell of the leaf. The more HD the picture, the more like it's gonna know everything. I don't know. It's gonna make growing not easier to grow, but easier to no more like dead ends and hurdles and like what the hell is this? Asking 1,000 people. It'll knock out a lot of the bullshit.
one of my favorite apps for figuring out what the hell the insects are that are attacking the local crops is iNaturalist. iNaturalist is the shit, and it's basically used worldwide now. So that's a really good
Oh wow.
resource if people haven't used that before. You can look up any insect or plant or fungus or mushroom or whatever it is that you're looking around for in the forest. That pretty much knows
Mm.
everything.
Interesting. So I have a question that's been rattling around in my head, and it's one of those like stupid questions that I feel stupid even like letting it in my head. But then I made the decision. I was like, you know what? Like I imagine because there's a lot of stupid people, and maybe I'll be surprised. Like so, I'm a boring cocoa grower, right? Like even right now, I'm as boring as a human can be. I'm using Scott's Grow Dots, so like literally, like I'm doing nothing. So I just got my 5x5 sent up, and so I've grown grow dots for a couple runs. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna run some new millenniums since I'm working with the Jug Dealers guys in 5.8, and I'm gonna start running the whole new mill line for this next thing. And I'm gonna hand water and cocoa and everything, just kind of go back to my roots. As far as like all of your natural farming techniques, like is there anything that translates to cocoa? Is there anything that I should be considering? Like, is there any bleed over in that Venn diagram between like, boring cocoa growing and this high speed K and F stuff you do? Is there any middle ground? Is there anything I can do to my cocoa to spice it up?
Yeah, I mean, you could use all those same methods. It's going to give you liquid plant foods that are just plant-based instead of, from those salt blends. So,
So just more
that's the only difference.
bioavailable as it goes in, not needing
Yep,
as much microbes to chew your food before it goes in.
yep. And it's something else too. It's going to be like a slow time, a little bit of a time release as well. It's not going to be like an instant like a salt would be. It's going to be, you know, 50, 60% of it with a little bit of, or 60, 80% of it, depending on what it is, with a little bit, the next week or two after that. So it's a little bit more available at that higher level. But also
Because I've
too,
been, I've
again, you're
been
looking at different forms of the microbes or nutrients as well, that are much more plant available. Like nitrates instead of ammonia, for instance. The plants will really uptake the nitrates a little bit more, but they do have to use more molybdenum to convert it back. So you do have to mine like molybdenum a little bit more with with aquatic based hydro or soil, or cocoa would be almost kind of like a hydro type setup. So you'd want to make sure you add a little extra molybdenum with like sodium molybdenate or something like that to be on the safe side. Or from a plant based one, like stinging nettle is a really good one. That's a really good puller of trace minerals. It usually has trace measurable amounts of molybdenum in it, for instance.
That's cool. Yeah, there's not a lot of like trace and micro products out there. Like, and anyone that's a real head knows that that micronutrition, that's where a lot of that flavor hides.
Well, you can actually get them. I work with True Aquaponics. We have a whole salt line. If people are just looking for that, for that are fish safe, that are all tested for heavy metals as well, that are not going to test you hot if you do that. So you can check that out over there. We do have a micronutrient blend just for soil and or hydro and aquaponics over there.
Nice. So yeah, I want to start doing some more like weird stuff, but because I want to make sure that I stay in my comfort zone, I'm still sticking in cocoa, but I want to start, cocoa's such a well-known thing, but hanging out with Scott over all these years, it just made me realize that like actually like there's a lot of like room to grow inside the cocoa. So anytime I get a chance to talk with someone like you, that's you're definitely not in my boring ecosystem of just like, oh, here's just some can of cocoa and some A and B. It's like what can we do to make cocoa better? Because I really believe in it as like a everyone likes to love their plants to death, so that overwatering problem and all that sort of, and then the anti-hydrophobia of like peat and stuff. Like I did a question on Instagram where I asked people like for like their thoughts on cocoa, tips and tricks on cocoa. It's kind of amazed how many people that grow in soil had my opinion. Like as a cocoa grower, I'm scared to grow in soil. Seems hard. Seems like I'll screw it up. I couldn't believe how many soil growers like, cocoa seems hard. That
Yeah, I
blew my
mean,
mind.
I've definitely traditionally had more problems with cocoa in general, with cocoa-based systems than I had with soil-based systems. And I just attribute that to
Really?
the microbe diversity. Like they have less fungi growing on because the cocoa is like it's a little bit harder for them to get established. So you have
Okay.
like less fungal metabolites to trigger those genes in the plant to be fungal defensive, right? So it's not it's not turning on those genes as hard and for its powdery mildew or its botrytis or fusarium genes that to help resist, for ones that are natural resistance. That's why I like living soil the best, or aquaponics, which is basically both. But
Uh,
Yeah, but that's kind of the way I look at it. But if you're something to add to cocoa, I would just say liquid IMO. If you could get your liquid IMO on there and get some microbial diversity that's gonna survive and thrive on there, it's gonna help you like solve that problem. So
Liquid
that's what I would
IMO,
recommend.
huh? Here,
Yeah.
let me Google that because that's I haven't heard of that, and I've been looking for. You're the first person I keep. Everyone is just like, oh, just use recharge. It's like, yeah, I'm aware of recharge. What besides recharge can I use?
Well,
Liquid
you can use
IMO.
recharge. So they're going to provide different microbial communities, so they'll be complementary. Actually, there's no overlap in terms of species, really.
Well, and I'm not saying not to, but people telling me to use recharge is like telling a chicken to lay eggs. It's like I'm
Oh
well
yeah.
aware of it. I'm literally when I come home from work each day, my pants are have recharge dust. I could wring my laundry out and get probably enough to feed a 5 gallon every day. My computer is so full of fucking recharge. My GPU has recharge on it. I'm well aware of recharge.
Nice and sticky
So
and black.
yeah, it looks like gunpowder. People always like think it's gunpowder or something.
It does look like gunpowder.
Yeah, well, he filled shotgun shells with it back in the day. The fucking nutter.
Forgot about that. Any of the issue
Yeah,
with like mailing them or an airport or something? I remember having a whole ordeal with this.
hilarious. Yeah, God bless. One of the downsides of like nowadays can be considered the high C era of Scotty, where he has like a manager. The good side of that is like he's very on top of it, and Real Growers is doing better than it ever has. The downside of it, we're not likely to get claw machines or shotgun shells anytime soon. you know, Spending 10 grand on parodies probably isn't on the front of his ideas right now.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find a picture of it. Did I
Joseph,
notice?
build my own mix. If you're referring to like nutrients, I'm out of my game. I'm a jug dealer. Buy new millennium. If you want jugs, you know where to get them. If you want other stuff, go watch the
Hey,
whatever.
Grambo's jugs.
I'm pretty out of shape, bro. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Oh
I'm so
man, I
fat
can't
right
seem to
now.
find a picture of those. I remember him having those gun shells though. I can't
Yeah.
find a picture.
They probably stripped it down. So yeah, funnily enough, when I Google it, one of the first things that comes up is how to do liquid IMO with Chris Trump. What an unfortunate name. We had Chris Trump on the panel show one day, and I was joking. I was like, can I make the title say like Trump appears on Dude Grow Show? Like, come on, let's do it.
Right? Trump. Chris Trump. Let's do it like
Ah,
James
Chris
Bond
Trump.
style intro.
So if you
No,
guys are
Chris is a good
curious
friend
on
of mine.
that, yeah, check out the because it's got 122,000 views. So a lot of homies have already seen it. Looks like a good video. I am bookmarking it and I'm gonna watch it a little bit later.
Yeah, basically you just want to cook rice so it's about 85% cooked. Get a nice kind of open weave basket. I find baskets work better than boxes. Some people find boxes work better than baskets, but I think baskets are easier personally. So you put your rice after you drain it, after it's most of the way cooked, you put it in your basket. You put a screen on top, and then you put it out into the forest with a little rain cover on it so it doesn't get rain on the rice. And then in an area that doesn't get disturbed or has like a more established forested area of your property, and you're going to grow those native fungi and other forest floor microbes on that rice. So you can also look around in your leaf litter and find some stuff that clearly has mycelium on it, like um, leaves or sticks or whatever. Take a couple of those, toss them in, or even put them on top of the green. The spores will drop down onto the rice, and then you can get your nice clean batch of healthy forest microbes that you can then cut
Oh,
50% with sugar. So you weigh it out and say if it weighs 500 grams, you're going to weigh 500 grams of sugar and mix it together. Now it's shelf stable, so that's good for like 3 or 4 years. And then you can either
so it
brew
just
that up.
lives off of the sugar.
So the
Wow.
sugar causes a osmotic pressure to crash. So like the sugar like locks out the oxygen, so the microbes kind of go into this like spore state where they're like in
Oh, it's a
suspended animation.
dormancy.
Yeah, so then you
Wow.
can scoop it out and then brew it up in a brew tank, or you can take it and mix it with like a carbohydrate and some soil and IMO3, and then take it to an IMO4. There's a couple steps. Check out Chris Trump's thing. It'll take me forever to explain and whatever, but he has the exact steps on all there. If you want to do it yourself, all the way to four, and then you can take that and then brew that into a liquid form and use that. Um, it
Nice.
takes a couple days to make, but it's totally worth it. I have a different version that saved my ass when I was in Zimbabwe and Thailand, where we take, say I'm going to make a kilogram of that rice. Instead of using a kilogram of rice, I'm going to use 700 grams of rice to 300 grams of insect frass or insect parts or local insects. You can make a water trap really easy. Put a light bulb right above a bucket of water, and the insects will collect in there pretty quickly. It's a great way to like collect fish feed or bait. Even if you want to go fishing the next day, you can leave that out the night before and have a bunch of free bait for fishing. It's just like a
See,
get.
as I hear you talk, right off the bat, like as far as stand-up comedy goes, like if, I just can't my comedy like advice brain is just back here. I was like, motherfucker. Like if I was in an open mic and we were smoking a bowl right now, I would just stop you and go, motherfucker, this is what you need to be talking about on stage. How the fuck you know how to have bait? Oh, if you need bait when you're in time. I remember the time I was in the amount of things that you just aren't thinking of that are insane and hilarious. I mean, dude, just as you're talking, I'm coming up with a million like Thailand jokes in my head just thinking about it. Holy shit. You making me realize I gotta travel. Scott was goading me into going to Costa Rica with him in a little bit, and I have a kid and a bunch
You
of stuff
should.
going on. I wasn't sure I had the time, but god damn it, you're making me feel like I should go. I've never been. I gotta get out of America for a little bit.
So you cook your 300 grams of insect parts and then your 700 grams of rice together. until it's about the rice is about 80-85% full. And what it does is it gets all those enzymes and bug juice and shit into the rice, and then you put that out for 5 days and collect the fungi that feed on the insects. So now you're getting stuff that likes to feed on insect exoskeletons, the fungi, and you're getting the instant chitinase because that fungi is breaking it down. So you're getting both the parasite, the fungal parasite against insects, and you're getting the increased SAR response on the plant to defend itself more against insects because chitinase triggers those genes in the plant to produce more resistance to insects and compounds that help fight them. So you apply that to the plants, and that will nuke the crap out of things like grasshoppers, leaf hoppers, thrips, like a lot of the stuff that can be pretty tricky to treat. That's really been the save. It saved my ass in Zimbabwe because when COVID happened, the borders shut and you couldn't buy anything. And they have like paraquat and shit at the hardware store. Like I can't use any of that. I'm gonna smoke it, right? We can't use any of shit. So we were bringing
Whoa.
in like proper biocontrols from South Africa because you can get all that shit from South Africa or Kenya in Africa and get the same shit you get in the States for Bavaria Bastiana and other or semi-organic kind of practices. So we started using that against the grasshoppers because we're fucking up our plants really bad. And as soon as we started using that, within 2 weeks, like you could find maybe a dozen grasshoppers in the field that flew in within a day or two, but all the rest of them would get covered in this white fungi that were like cotton like was rolled around them or something, and they were just getting infected by the fungi that we collected in the forest, and it just nuked the shit out of them. But I've used that against blister beetles, which fuck up livestock in Colorado and Oklahoma. We've used it against Japanese beetles. We've used it against thrips and leaf hoppers. It's a really good make your own biocontrol, and you can drink the stuff. Like whenever I teach it, the workshop style, you can drink it, and it works awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I was just I forgot. It's funny, like I run everybody else's like streams and content, and I'm Johnny like on the spot with stuff. And then as I'm looking at mine, I was like, it's like, oh, I don't even remember how to like run this shit. It was like, oh, I just clicked the button and then the liquid IMO came up. I forgot. It's so funny. At the bakery, I don't know. I'm just as high as I am now, but I don't know. I feel more professional. Holy shit. So yeah, we've talked for about an hour, Steve. So can I introduce you to a good friend of mine? This is
Sure.
this as a special individual just popped in. So through the Jug Dealer crew, I got to meet a former NFL player, awesome freaking grower, first round draft pick. He's a new friend in my life, and I'm always excited to introduce. So Potent Ponics, Steve, meet Eugene Green Monroe, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Steve, what's good? Grambo, thanks for having me. What's up, man? How's it
Yeah,
going?
yeah. Thanks for it's going good, man. You came right at the hour mark. I didn't know if it was too long. Usually around an hour, people start dropping off, so it's good to bring in some new blood and hang out. So one of the things I definitely wanted to ask you was about this catfish cross that just came in.
It's ReVegging not too far away from me.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
mobile?
So
Do you,
we
do you
we
have ability to
still
show stuff?
um I don't, but before we're done, I'll hop off, switch to my phone, and then I'll give you a peek at it. But yeah, it's got some real stems coming out of those buds now, so it's starting to do its thing. Some of the got some 3-leaf sets starting too, some rigid leaves going on. So it's coming on strong, and it's only been a month. It's been a quick re-veg.
Nice.
Yeah.
For people that didn't see my video on the 5 strains video for 2024, oh, my man drinking that Royal Crown. So if you didn't see the Jug Dealers we were talking about it, or my video, like Gabe got this crazy catfish cross strain that no one really even knew what it was called or where it was from, and it was one of the most unique genetic specimens that a lot of respected growers had ever came across. So it was
It's
fallen upon
foul.
you.
It's
You flowered
nasty.
it. It was so rank. Apparently, you found out of even the rankest, you found the rank. So he started re-vegging it to try to make sure that the
Yeah.
progeny was not lost to history.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't clip any cuts off of it. I just sent it in flour. But it was too good. It looked good. It was smelling just offensive. you know, like there's the funk that you like, and then there's the funk that makes you turn your head like, wait a minute, like what is this? And that's everybody's reaction when they get a little whiff of it. So yeah, I think it's special. If anything, I'm hoping we can get some of that stank to come out of it when we breed it. So yeah, I'm just glad this re-veg is going well. It's my first re-veg too. So, you know, I haven't successfully done this, but this one's going pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's something have you ever grown with any sort of like are you usually a jug sort of guy? Have you ever grown any natural farming sort of stuff?
Yeah, I've grown a lot of ways. I've built living soil. It's still my favorite way to grow, although I nail my cocoa gardens a bit tighter. Um, but I'm still learning the soil game. But yeah, I've grown cocoa, rock wool, deep water culture, which I fried that garden, but I
That's
tried
awesome.
it. Yeah,
The
it wasn't my best.
DWC.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was a bad move. But some people have success with it. I just didn't. But I was a super rookie grower at the time too. Um, but I
Have you
prefer
ever
cocoa.
I can't imagine. Have you ever done DWC, Steve?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of aquaponic cannabis facilities. They convert from lettuce facilities, so they already have the infrastructure built. So they just change the
Oh.
crop on it, and you
Yeah,
just
no shit. What am I
yeah,
asking? Once again, like
yeah.
that's a hop, skip, and a jump for you. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I consider you like as just an organic, like so far away from all these high speed things. But it's even the organic and the salt stuff. It's all interlaced, right?
Oh yeah, and same thing too. Like I've done a lot of hydro grows, consulting or soil, regular drip line or whatever. It's one half dozen on the other. If you can do the living soil and the aquaponics and the hydro, it's not that much different than it's just
This is
nutrients and
interesting,
dialing it in.
Grambo. Very interesting because you asked Steve a question in this round, and I was on the phone with Bo and Gabe, just trying to understand
That's
when
the
you
crew
build.
from 5'8". Bo is the head jug dealer over there.
Yeah, so I've definitely used the new mill additives in my soil, like the Ruby. Um, and so I was just asking, like, how do they think the soil will respond to using jugs? Because I know I've read some things just on how you can disturb the microbial activity if use certain forms of nitrogen in the soil. So I actually had a successful garden using it, but I didn't test the soil's microbial activity to see whether or not it diminished. But since we have Steve here, and you seem perfect to have info on this, just understanding whether or not the typical like forms of nitrogen in these jugs, uh, whether or not it's okay to use them in your soil, if and when you would, if it is okay, like in what scenario, right? If you have a deficiency, maybe a bottle helps correct that issue quicker, but then are you depleting, all this great bacteria or microbiology you've built? How does that work?
So it just depends on what levels, right? So a lot of times what they're referring to is people just hitting it really hard with bloom booster, which is usually monopotassium phosphate, and the high phosphate levels just fries the shit out of your fungi. Like your mycorrhizae and stuff will just get obliterated by the high phosphate is
Yeah.
one of the big issues. But like for instance, with most of the aquaponics facilities I'm working with now, we're dosing some levels of salts. We're dosing them really low levels, but we're just adjusting what the microbes are not providing, right? So we're dosing maybe parts per million or 5 parts per million or 7 parts per million in a dose. We're not doing huge doses hardly ever because the microbes are providing 85-90% of the nutrients. Same thing with living soil, right? Like if you just baby living soil a little bit, you can boost those yields a little bit more and kind of grow synganic, where you're growing organically with microbes, but you're just kind of boosting that availability and keeping them working at maximum capacity. But just a matter of not overdoing it and not getting too heavy handed with it. But if you dosed it really heavily, then yeah, I mean, it's probably going to have a reduced microbial amount. If you cut that 50-50 with some regular soil, hit it with some microbes, like an IMO or even a recharge or some of the other soil conditioner microbial blends, it'll be ready to go pretty quickly. I don't think it's as bad as what they say. I know, Dr. Lane Ingham always talked pretty heavily about phosphorus killing microbes, and I just haven't seen that under the microscope. As long as you're not completely overdosing it, I think if you're blasting it with Bloom Booster, yeah, you're definitely nuking it. But if you're dosing it like quarter or half dose, or even 3/4 dose of what a lot of these nutrients are, they're not dosing super high amounts. There's a really good guy, it's like Brian or Brain 420 or Brain 420 something on Instagram. He has a really cool a dosing chart table, and has all the nutrient ppms per dose for all the different major commercial nutrients that are in one place. And if you look at the actual mineral ppms, a lot of them aren't that high in an individual dose. It's just you have to make sure those plants are large enough to be blowing through those nutrients, and they're not just building up in the soil. I think that's where, hey, if you're running drain to waste with cocoa, you're not getting a lot of residual staying in that cocoa. You know what I mean? It's mostly getting flushed out, so you don't have to worry about it quite as much. But it's not there too. So if it burns through it, it's going to instantly show a deficiency because it doesn't have it available to it. So that's where you're.
If you're adding salts to your soil, are you then concerned with like backing up and building up that salt content if you're not also like getting any runoff in that soil, right? So you don't want to wash out your biology, but you don't want to back up your salts.
Yeah, so again, it just matters of if the soil is pretty high in those nutrients, then the plant's going to be happy, and you're not going to have to feed it as heavily, right? If you can get that nice combo of the microbials, for instance, if you look at the recommended parts per million you need to grow aquaponic cannabis or lettuce or anything else, a lot of those levels are much lower. We're running around 28 to 35 parts per million phosphorus, running 50 to 75 parts per million potassium, maybe a little bit higher in some strains that really want to be heavier fed. Whereas in hydroponics, for instance, for potassium, you're going to run around 200 to 300 parts per million to get the same yield results. So if you have those microbes, they're making it instantly bioavailable. You don't have to run the same super high parts per million, so that you have more of a buffer range before it's a problem with the living soil.
God damn, this man dropping science.
Yeah. You're muted there, bud.
Oh no, I was just saying, just a thank you to Steve, man. I saw you were in here. That question's been burning on my mind. Again, Grambo, I asked Bo about it, and I experimented with it too, right? So I'm asking a question, but I'm also just like taking a couple pots and trying this out. So yeah, I just appreciate you sharing that knowledge, man. It's been fun to learn about you and your history and just how active you are in the industry. This has been dope.
Yeah, for
Appreciate it.
those that don't know, Gene is one of the he is in this community. Like people haven't found out about him yet. That's why I'm so stoked to get you on here. The more I can spread you and Gabe specifically, like no one gives you guys enough love yet, and I'm on the personal mission to change that because goddamn. So I appreciate you being here. What do you use for microbes? Like you're out there growing in that cocoa, fearing about your microbes. What are you using for microbes? How
You
do you like
mentioned
to
one of them.
inoculate?
I do use recharge in terms of inoculating. Typically, drop my clone into the cocoa with the granular myco. I like that, and sometimes I'll also run the wettable mycos just in like the last of my tank and feed it out. But I do like to throw the recharge in there. There was a point where I was also using compost teas weekly in my cocoa to help maintain and establish that biology. Uh, but yeah, just as of late, it's been the mycos, the recharge, and fish shit that I've been enjoying using as well.
That product has really come to life in the last like year and a half. Like it's been around forever. Man, people have really taken a shine to it.
Yeah,
What do
no,
you
Yeah.
think about that, Steve? Like that's Steve's ecosystem. Is that a good product? Like I
Yeah.
always
So
think of you every time I see that bottle. I literally think of you. So it's funny that he brings it up.
there's a really cool study the Aquaponics Association put out back in, I forget, 2019, 2017, 18, whatever, about the microbial biodiversity of aquaponic systems, where they were talking about how uh, when they did this assay and they DNA sequenced all the different systems across 40 or 50 commercial systems, and then they compared a bunch of organic soil systems, the biodiversity in the aquaponic systems on average is 168% more diverse in terms of total species for mineralization of plant essential nutrients. So um, it makes total sense that bottling up the fish waste in a liquid form that's, they've figured out how to stabilize in some way. I haven't quite talked to them about that, but they've been on my show way back in when they first started 6 or 7 years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
Um, but the guy's really cool. The head dude over there is really nice. I met him a couple times. But having that kind of diversity that's going to then go into your soil, and remember, about 67, 68% of those microbes are going to live just fine in your soil too. So you're just adding biodiversity that's missing from your system. Same reason why adding like soil microbes works really good in aquaponics, for the same reason. There's just different microbes that aren't fitting. You don't have the total soil food web, or you might be missing a piece, or maybe now instead of there being one microbe chain that's chelating phosphorus, now there's two or three because you've diversified the number of species. So you can get faster mineral availability by just diversifying your microbes in whatever form that you're comfortable with, be it store-bought or whatever.
Hmm. So I just recently learned the idea, like the way that I had always thought that microbes were interacting it with that they were eating like the nutrients and then they were like shitting out in some manner. And by the way, how dare you be wearing a Philadelphia Flyers shirt on this stream? I just noticed that. I don't know if I have a Devils thing around here somewhere, but I'll spike it up there. But that not that they're eating and shitting out, but they're eating, and then because their life cycle is so fast, they're dying, and their DNA and RNA are the things that are like fueling it. Like, am I close on that? Like, what's your knowledge or take on it?
So there's a couple of things going on. So you have to remember that like there's almost like, I would prefer to explain this like a stock exchange, right? So the plant's trading sugar, which is like money, for commodities, which is like calcium or whatever, magnesium and phosphorus and whatever, and then also like other compounds that it needs for like other processes the plant needs for its immune system or its nutrient transport or whatever else. So that by having more different sellers on the available to the roots, the plants now can like get more resources with that same sugar currency.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's kind of like
It's a
I think the easiest way to
damn good
understand it.
metaphor. Wow, nice.
Maybe I
I'm
answered
gonna
the
have to.
question wrong.
I'm gonna have to. Let's take a second to dwell on that. The more buyers it has, the more chance it has to get the commodities it needs.
Well, what's really cool too, I don't know if you've ever learned about the albino redwood trees. So the albino redwood
I mean, are you
trees
telling me
are
all I
not,
do is think about the albino redwood trees, bro?
well, it's a good example of this, like with the nutrient symbiosis with the plants. So, and there's other trees that do this too with albinos, mostly pine trees, but cypress trees too, like the giant redwoods. So they have they'll take and put all the heavy metals in the albino plants because the albino plants don't have photosynthesis, and because they're albino, they can store more heavy metals that would
Oh
otherwise be
wow.
toxic to the nearby trees. So they'll feed them from their own stores of energy to keep them alive, like almost like a parasite, keeping them alive, and then pumping them full of heavy metals, which is really crazy. So if you ever like test it, the tissue from it. It's a really interesting thing to check out. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, they're kind of like a heavy
Yeah.
metal dumping ground for the surrounding trees. They like serve a purpose in the forest. It's like pretty wild, but it all happens because
Wow.
of like the microbial chains in the soil, like transferring the nutrients to like keep them alive and then also like store all the metal in them.
That's trippy.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's like really wild.
Yeah, man. Plant that. It's funny how little I know about nature And if it wasn't for cannabis plants, I wouldn't know anything about nature. And now the more that I learn about it, the more I'd walk right past that, and I think it's some white bush. I don't know what is it, fucking, something, or
You
maybe
know,
it's just dried out or something. But
cannabis definitely
albino,
sparks your interest in plant life in general. It's fun to learn about. I think I have equal
yeah.
fun gardening vegetables now that I do gardening cannabis.
What do you garden as far as vegetables right now, Gene?
Oh man, it's I'm a little late to get started here for the season, but it's about that time. But we've got a garden full of squashes and different leafy greens and a few variety of tomatoes. I've got a few fruit trees going and blueberries and strawberries and peppers and potatoes and asparagus. We've got a bunch of stuff going.
I've always wanted to grow fruit. Is there anything you guys recommend? Is there a way you can grow fruit like indoors or in Colorado? Like I know so little about growing, but I've always wanted to grow fruit I could eat something, and I don't really eat vegetables, so I wouldn't want to grow a rutabaga or something.
There's a couple of different dwarf citrus varieties that you can grow, and I've grown avocados in greenhouses there in Colorado, and peach trees, and we were growing a nona, which is what the fuck is the English one for that? Custard apple or sweet apple, sugar apple, something like
Oh
that
wow.
in English. Um, but it's a nona in Spanish, la noina in Thai, and sweet sop in Jamaican. It's like the best fruit ever. It looks like a hand grenade.
That's what
But yeah, if you're
because
gonna
I
grow,
started regularing Jamaica for a while there with my ex, and man, the amount of weird fruits that I've never even encountered my whole life. It's right there. It's a few hundred miles off the coast. How have I never heard of these? You know, freaking
that
ackee and all these weird
I was
vegetables and
just
things like that. You know?
I was just gonna say, did anyone explain to you the aki and the whole like
Yeah,
danger with
yeah.
it?
One of my favorite experiences in Jamaica, I was on mushroom tea. And like, if you ask a waitress in America, like, I'd like no pickles, she'll just go, yes, no pickles. And I asked this waitress in Jamaica, I was like, can I get that with no ackee? And she goes, why? I was like, because I don't like it. I'm a pussy American. Is that a good reason?
Aki's awesome, man. It tastes like eggs. It's the shit. I love aki in
Yeah,
the morning.
I have the worst diet on earth. I'm dying. As you look at me, I'm dying.
We need to have a talk, my friend.
Yes, we do. I need a good woman in my life. I need some woman to help me. Like I've just been single for too long, dude. I literally spend like if I told you guys how much of my income I spend on Uber Eats, you guys would strangle me. It's pathetic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Grambo, I'm gonna jump and then jump back on a different device so you can see the re-veg.
Yeah, yeah, man. Cool. That would be a good way we can wrap up real quick. So yeah,
Be right
do it.
back.
I will see you. Fuck yeah. Well, what else, Steve? Anything else that we should talk about before we wrap up? Because this has been, I'm glad he got to come in because I don't even have a good enough grow acumen to question you right. So I was glad that Gene had a couple good nitrogen questions. Yeah, all right. So I guess he's jumping off too. So we're going solo. So chat, what else should we talk about? Oh, there we go. We got him back. There's Steve.
Nothing there. The internet cut out or something. I'm sorry.
Oh, what a weird time for the internet cut out. I was like, maybe he thought we were just ending.
No, I was just, you were talking about vegetables. I was gonna, I'll throw this on. So my fiance has been cataloging all of our seeds. But we have like 2/3 of Baker Creek's seed catalog, and like between the two of us, and like I have a ton of competition vegetables and like gigantic vegetables and stuff. Um, yeah, so we're doing a pretty big garden out here this year. Super stoked to have like a bunch of weird ass vegetables that I've been collecting for a while that I haven't been in one place long enough to actually grow for a bit, so that'll be pretty sweet.
Yeah, man. Frog Slayer wasn't here for a little bit. Grow's going really, really good. So I always like to when I first started with the Dude Grow show, I was just fresh off of a divorce. So like for the first time in 12 years, I wasn't growing. And so for like the introduction to the whole world of the DGC out there. Like they got to know me as not growing. So it's like, dude, I've been growing. Like that's how I found the Dude Grow show. It's because I fucking was a grower, you know. So anytime anyone brings up my grow, I like to. It's going great. It's going great. It's actually going great. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I'll be showing lots of pictures. That was actually how the whole Grambo Grows thing, like the channel and everything. You know how it started, funnily enough, is that I didn't want to get my Instagram deleted, just my regular Josh Grambo comedy Instagram. And so I was posting bud pictures and they sent me a notification that I was no longer viewable outside of anyone that subscribes to me. You know, like you have to follow me. It won't push my reels or anything out to new viewers. And I was like, oh shit, well, there's the first ding to getting deleted. So I created a Grambo Grows Instagram and then I got like 500 followers in like a week. And I was like, oh shit, like I should take this more seriously. And then I started a channel and 150 subscribers before I had posted a video. And I was like, all right, like the people have spoken. I have to fucking take this seriously. So my whole journey started because I know I'm going to get deleted on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really like got all as wrapped up into Instagram. I think I don't know anything that is touched by the Zuck. I try not to get too invested in because I mean, cannabis posting on Facebook is just as bad. Like if you have a cannabis anything, you have to have like 3 to 5 accounts because one of them is going to be on a 30-day ban on a given basis. Sometimes half of them or more just for
Yeah.
posting like basic business shit. So it's stupid.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand because we're in the back end of the industry. We like just intuitively understand it. For a lot of people that don't get like when you see things that like I know like Loving in Her Eyes has like Loving in Her Eyes 3.0 as her thing. Well, that's because that's the third account that she's had. And so YouTube has been actually pretty nice, even though Steve and I were talking about a lot of accounts have been deleted over the years. Surprisingly, not a ton have only the big guys that kind of push the envelope in certain ways. But Instagram, dude, it's a fucking they just take a flamethrower, man. Speaking of paraquat, Instagram is fucking paraquat.
That's why I like threads. Oh yeah, I want Twitter with all the censorship of Facebook. That sounds like something I want to do. No, I'm not wasting time on that shit. Fuck that. That's
Dude,
like
Reds. Oh,
no. Like thank God at least there's
no.
one platform that doesn't censor the shit out of everything now. Like thank fuck
Dude.
like yeah, people can hate on Musk for whatever they want to hate on him for, but think without him we wouldn't have known about the government trying to control all the stuff at the back end and not talk about it and all this. Like he's at least in that one particular case with the censorship shit that was like up there with Snowden. So
Yeah. No, yeah, that's pretty much freaking crazy, dude. It was it's been the last freaking like essentially as like a back end content creator guy. I look back at like things like Cambridge Analytica and all of like that sort of stuff that went down with the data mining and collection. And I remember at the time I was just like, dude, that's so crazy. I'm glad they found that out. Then I get into like the marketing and creation game and I'm like, I wish I had those analytics. That would have been sweet. I'll cookie the fuck out of you. No, I really will. It'll be a THC cookie.
it's funny just on the analytics stuff. Like my top videos, like how and when to top your plant, and then like my decarbing videos. And it's like I've had interviews. I had like up until Heavy Days interviewed him. I think the only video interview with like Gypsy Nirvana, who was like a big dude back in the day, and a bunch of other like a couple of different ones with people that have since passed on, and a bunch of other like really hard to get interviews. It took me forever. Hunting down the original Mr. Green. You remember Mr. Green in the early 2000s? I hunted him down
Oh,
and got him on
yeah.
the show after he kind of went dark. That took me 5 years to find, right? That's not the one that gets it. A 3-minute video I made on a whim on how to top a fucking plant is the thing that like drives the most traffic to my channel. Like it's the
Always.
it's the silliest shit how you can make like Like that's one thing I would say if you're getting into the game of media content for cannabis. Break each little thing you're doing in the garden down into a short little video, and one of them will strike. Will strike well. It's stupid, it's weird, but that's seems to be the way that the algorithm works.
Oh, and not just the algorithm, but the people. I really believe that like I watch even the hardcore people that are in this chat right now. Any of the fucking 150 people that are in the chat here have been popping in and out. Like they're all hardcore, but I guarantee all you bastards, you're more likely to click on a how to grow in cocoa video than a interview with fucking Swami, or some like crazy thing. Like, yeah, like it's amazing the amount of effort that we'll put into certain things that get no love, and then you just fart out something and then people love. Like, for example, Dude Grows has a video with 500,000 views. It was filmed at the DGC Cup in 240p. It is like the worst video. I see edited it just because he had footage on his phone. I didn't even edit it. He just edited it for like a lark, and we threw it up on the channel. 500,000 views, and everyone is like, dude, what the fuck? This video looks like shit. We're like, yeah, we film things in 4K and they have 1,000 views. Who knows what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Fuck it,
Well,
man.
the other bit is with
Flip
YouTube,
over.
it suppresses you if they can't run ads on it. Then they just like it's really hard to like grow your channel and grow. Like we just hit 15,000 subs, but it's taken a long time, and I think we're 15,500 now or whatever. But it's it's
Yeah.
slow just because the algorithm will not fucking suggest your shit for your regular content. So it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, no, that's why it's so important to subscribe to all your favorite cannabis creators, because you don't get notified. Like the way that the algorithm works is they call what your homepage when you open it up in the back end, we call that browse, the browse feature. And so the browse feature, opposed to like up next or any of the other sort of like jargon they use to describe it, you don't have to subscribe. If YouTube knows that you like the content, they'll just throw it in the browse feature, and it's almost like you do subscribe. But if you get got into the gating situation that they put there, you get subscriber gated, and so we don't show up in your browse feature. And even if you're subscribed, we probably don't show up in your browse feature. Even if you do, some people say they ring the bell and they still don't get notified. That's what it's like to create cannabis content. But when the dust settles, this is a thing we say at the bakery all the time. Right now, it's dusty and it's fisticuffs and it's bloody and it's ugly and we're getting kicked in the teeth and no respect. But when the dust settles, we want to make sure we're all still here at the top of our game, so that way we can ascend to our rightful place of like reputable people not getting shadow banned. Yeah, how easy it would be to be us if we weren't shadow banned, Steve. It'd be so easy.
Oh yeah, no, I mean based on my metrics per like views per month or whatever, like I should have, if you compare it to like a video game channel or something else that's not censored in Oblivion, I would have had
Mhm.
way more. And it's frustrating. Anyone that's had a cannabis channel, sorry about the dog just being annoying. Hopefully you
No,
can't hear
there.
them
In
though.
fact, we can't even hear it. That's how good the noise canceling is these days.
Oh, for real? Okay, I've been like
Yeah.
freaking out about it. Um,
No,
all right.
I literally have headphones on. I have not heard one dog. That's crazy.
Okay. Well, it's not. It's a pretty polite dog. So it's just being annoying. Um, so, making sure that you have a podcast in an audio format only, because those formats don't censor you. I get about 20 times the plays in the first 30 days on audio only compared to like my YouTube channel. Like YouTube will get 600 to 1,500 views within the first 30 2 weeks usually on a video, and then I'll get like anywhere from 20 to 30,000 plays per month on the audio. So it's like really frustrating, like total across platforms. So it's like really a way that isn't being censored as heavily as YouTube is, or Instagram. And if you're looking to get your message out and have people that can find you, just make sure you're tagging your shit right. But that's the way to kind of get around that issue.
Yeah, that would actually, now that you just it made me realize, like that would be, I'm very YouTube centric because I've spent so much time figuring out the YouTube algorithmic discovery thing. Is that it's like I finally figured it out. I know how it works. I can like, I can get my message out there. So I don't focus on the other ones. My advice actually would be everyone's like, oh, go to Rumble, go to this. I'm like, go to Spotify. Spotify is very, very cannabis friendly. They don't censor nothing. They send it out there. Like, it doesn't matter. Spotify doesn't deal in clickbait. Doesn't matter what we title it. People always message me that like, oh, you forgot to title the Spotify thing. I actually didn't. Sometimes I just title them the Dude Grow Show 1643 to see what happens. And you know what happens? They get the same views as the this is why you need this in your garden now that Scott will come up with, his infomercial titles he likes to create, and they get the same. Whereas YouTube, the infomercial video titles do way better than just titling it the Dude Grows Show. So go to Spotify. It's more fair and they're actually cannabis friendly.
Yeah. And there's, you can, once you have your RSS feed set up, you can pretty much spend like a Saturday and it's rainy or whatever, and just plug it into a couple, 150, 200 websites, and it'll disseminate it out to like the whole fucking planet, and you
Another
spend,
reason Spotify's awesome. Spotify for podcasters, formerly Anchor, is a RSS like aggregator. So you just plug your RSS in and it's a podcatcher and it sends it out to everybody. It's pretty dope.
there you go.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't know if Eugene got lost on the way to the garden, but yeah, we're running up on almost 2 hours. 10:22. You ever have that thing where every time you look at the clock, it's like a number that has significance to you? You ever do that? Like, do you live in that? I feel like stoners live in a weird numbers.
No, I'm a big fan of mushrooms, so I don't know. We usually like to have clock faces that are just like exposed to the room, You don't want to like turn on a screen
uh,
or something to see it, so I don't have to look at the clock.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I need more analog things in my life. Dude always tells me on the show I need more like house plants. He's like, you need life around you, Grambo. It's like, yeah, he's right. I bought a water fountain. I have a nice water fountain by my bed and it trickles and I have a little it's like my Zen routine. Each day I have to, give it a little drink. I wake up, I give it a drink, I go open my tent. I have a little Zen morning routine now.
I
And
used to
then my
have a
night
four.
routine is what's that?
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna make a joke about how my night routine is to fucking just die of all I do is just smoke dabs and eat fried Twinkies.
I used to have a 4x2 grow bed in my bathroom when I lived in this one house that had a huge bathroom because it was like the easiest to climate control room in the whole fucking place. So I just put a
That's
4x2 grow bed
hilarious.
with a tank underneath of it, and I had the timer set to like 6:30 in the morning for the light. So I would like wake up at 6:15 and like wander into the bathroom in the dark and get in the shower, and then like the sun would come up and I'd come out and like the plants would be growing, and it was awesome. We had an orchid growing on the wall. It was dope. But I'd veg my plants out there, and then once they got
An
to the right
orchid on
size
the
and
wall.
bushes, kick them over to the greenhouse over at the other spot and flower them over there. But it was a way to like veg them and have a convenient room that had an exhaust fan on it already.
Crazy. Yeah, dude, I gotta invest in that. Do you recommend anything for indoor plants? I don't have much light. I'm in the downstairs area. I got like window wells and stuff. Like, what would grow with
Um,
ambient light?
Pothos would work fine. Pothos doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit. That's probably your best bet.
All right.
Pothos or
Well,
an air plant.
I'll have to look back on this and fucking because I'm looking to pull the trigger. I just don't want it to die. I'll feel bad.
If you're gonna put a light up though, and you're in that kind of space, even if it's a smaller grow light, get into Penthes, get a nice pitcher plant. Those are dope. Those
Yeah.
are my favorite to grow.
Is it
Uh,
called a picture plant?
Pitcher plant, like a pitcher, like a beer pitcher.
Uh-huh. Oh, a pitcher plant.
Yeah, or like a baseball pitcher. There's
Uh-huh.
about 2 hours from where I'm at. There's like the guy that breeds the most crazy ones in North America. I keep meaning to go over there and film with him. Yeah, those are dope. Those are great. And there's so many
All
different
right.
kinds. If you
Well, I
really
will
want to get
check it out because I
red,
gotta I
red
gotta grow something besides the dank.
Red Fern Exotics is the best one, honest. I think he's got some super dope. Red Leaf Exotics. Red Leaf Exotics. I'm sorry. He's the
Red
guy in
Leaf
Tennessee.
Exotics. All
Yeah,
right.
he's got
I
really
might
cool
check
ones.
it out. I need something. I need more life. I need to be more grounded. I always say my joke for me is that I'm a brain in a jar with a dick. Like that's what I am. All I do is think and think about fucking, that's all. Just the only physicality I do is that. I literally have like below I have Tinder open on my phone as we're sitting here talking. That's the kind of man I am, Steve. I'm a goddamn degenerate. But because I matched with someone and then she was a scam Asian, like
Yeah,
squiggly. Dang Fong. I matched with Dang Fong.
thanks,
I
fun.
like it.
Sounds Filipino.
Uh yeah, she's I believe Thailand. 8,000 8
Oh,
she's 8,300 miles away currently.
there you go. It's Songkran. It's like the best holiday. It's like today is Songkran, the beginning of Songkran. It's like a giant balloon water gun fight. So like the whole village, like even 85-year-old people are out there with like fucking water guns, throwing water balloons at people, dumping buckets of water on people. Like you're on your motorbike and
What?
you get hit, like going to, yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's like the best holiday ever. And
In
it's like February 14th or 12th, or sorry, April like 12th or 14th, all the way to like 420. It's like, yeah, Songkran's the shit.
wow. I
And in the
gotta
village,
say, I
if you
I
want like a super
never.
cool new alcohol to make at home, there's a an alcohol they make for Songkran called Sato, and you can get all the ingredients. If it's like sticky rice whiskey or wine that you can make, it's the shit.
Oh man, interesting. I'm gonna see. This is why I need to travel more. How cool is the world, dude? They like
If you're gonna go to
the whole.
Thailand, go for Songkran. It's the shit.
Wow. Well, you heard it here first, Graham fan. I have no, Graham fam. That even sounds like a Tyler. My name's Graham fam. Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna tell people when I go if I go across because I've had some offers from some Thai like DGC people. Like they're like, dude, come hang out anytime. And so I plan on going. I just I'm so busy. I do the goddamn live shit. That goddamn Monday live with Dude Gross, man. It's just got me tied to a ball and chain. I can't leave. Even Scott will leave. He'll be like, I'm going to Costa Rica. And I was like, I still have to produce the show. Sons of bitch. But I'm gonna get out of it. So some crumb. How the fuck you say it? I'm coming.
Songkran.
Songkron. Nice. Fuck yeah. Well, we've given Eugene about as much time as I can stand. So I think we'll wrap it up for people that because right now everyone in the chat they all know who you are, but this will get another couple thousand views over the next day. So shout it out. Where can people find you, brother?
Sure, you guys can find me at Potent Ponics on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Rumble, all the things. You can find me on the Growing with Fishes podcast on Thursdays. You can find me on Dat Smoke Show, DAT Smoke Show, which is a show with a bunch of other growers on Wednesday on Wednesdays. If you're interested in taking the upcoming aquaponics class, you can check that out at aquaponicmasterclass.com. And if you want to check out the AI project we were talking about earlier, you can find us on Copyleft Cultivars on Patreon to get access to that. We have some cool stuff we're working on the new release, but it now accounts for fish and amphibian toxicity for all the plants. And if there's a plant
Oh,
in the same genus that is known to cause problems, it'll warn you as well, so you can make educated decisions on that. But there's over 800 plants now that are
holy
documented in it.
crap.
It took me a
Well,
while
you
to put
people need this
together.
app. I mean, I never thought I'd hear it's like, oh, it also accounts for like if you're using certain methods and the animal populations that may or not be poisonous within it. It accounts for that. It's like, what? And Scott always likes to say, there's some movie. I don't know what he's quoting, whether it's Chinatown or something. He goes, it's over, Johnny. And I don't know what he means, but I do know what he means. It's like, oh, it's over, Johnny. It's over. Fuck yeah. Well, thank you so much. And you all know who I am. If you guys want anything, you can support me at GRAMBO.shop, www.GRAMBO.shop. Get yourself a grow hat. These things are pretty sweet. So even if you think I suck, you can still support Grow. Grow as a person, grow your plants, get a grow hat. And I'll be giving them away at the DGC Cup. So if anyone's coming, I just got a 10 in stock. I'm making sure I'm giving them away to all the fans. So once again, thanks you, Steve. I hope to see you at the Cup, and we'll tell each other jokes. Fuck them.
All right, buddy.
Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for having me on.
Bye, everybody.